He's going all the way. 20, 15, 10. Touchdown. Texas Tech takes home the victory.
Welcome into the Broadway Shuffle with Zyler, Conrad, and Clayton. I am Brennan, and on today's show, we are going to preview the Big 12 championship matchup between BYU and Texas Tech. Words, gentlemen, that I dreamed to be spoken have finally turned into reality. We get a huge rematch in Arlington this Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Texas Tech, BYU. Huge playoff implications on the line. Texas Tech potentially getting a bye. BYU trying to work their way into the field. It is going to be an epic Big 12 matchup on Saturday, and we will be here to preview all of it. If this is your first time to the Broadway Shuffle, we are so glad you are here. Make sure to like this video and subscribe on YouTube or follow us on Spotify or Apple. It's totally free. We love new shufflers every day. We're here every Monday and Thursday to break down Texas Tech sports. We appreciate you. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter at the Broadway Shuffle. And also, we've got merchandise live. It's in the description below. Check it out. We are excited that you are here. And gentlemen, we have been waiting for this preview for a long time. The biggest game we have ever previewed for Texas Tech football. And it is a rematch of a game that happened in Lubbock a few weeks ago. Texas Tech 29-7 win a couple weeks ago in Lubbock, heavily favored. I think the line's still 12.5, but Zyler, huge opportunity for the Red Raiders to earn a bye in the college football playoff. Your initial thoughts as we head into the weekend?
Yeah, what an opportunity. I mean, I think you have to give so much credit to Joey, to Blanchard, to the boosters, to the players. They had a plan at the beginning of the year or the end of last year. They executed it, and then it completely worked. Not often do you see that. We've had so many seasons where I've said, man, if this guy just hits and this guy can be a good receiver and this guy can perform at edge, maybe we've got a shot. And this year it went well above expectations, and that's not something that we've gotten to experience very frequently. It's a great sight to behold. You're positioned well for many, many years. That's something I said at the beginning. It's like, it would be different if I didn't feel like this was our only bite at the apple. I think we're going to be in this position several times over the coming years. But man, what an opportunity! What a moment! It's really, really fun as a Tech fan, as a West Texan, it's really awesome. So really excited for this weekend.
Clayton, we were talking in our pre-production meeting. It doesn't feel real. Some of it just doesn't feel like it's actually happening, but Texas Tech is in the Big 12 championship. You've earned your right here, 11-1, one of the most dominant seasons in Big 12 history, let alone Texas Tech history. And we're going to be there on Saturday to see it all happen live. But just an opportunity that, do you feel like this is actually happening? Is this a pinch me moment for Texas Tech fans, or are you soaking this in and realizing like you've built something here?
Yeah, for me, I feel like being in the Big 12 title game, like, doesn't feel that surreal. I was like high on the team coming in. Not that I expected that, but like that was my goal, and I thought it was very realistic. But I think the part that doesn't feel real is like seeing the selection show and like the fans of like Bama, Notre Dame, Miami, like sweating out the playoff, and Tech is like completely safe. Like, that is surreal to me. Like I never thought that we'd be in that position. And so, yeah, I guess from now on, I will expect to be 2 touchdown favorites in the Big 12 championship game every year from here on out. So looking forward to it.
Conrad, you've got the haircut ready to go for this weekend, looking sharp, looking clean. You'll be in Arlington. What a weekend in store. What are your expectations for the crowd, the environment, everything we're going to see at AT&T Stadium Saturday morning?
Yeah, well, thank you for mentioning my haircut. I needed to make sure that it was looking good for a picture, hopefully with the Big 12 championship trophy on Saturday afternoon. I think Saturday is going to be I think it'll be BYU 2.0. I think the environment inside AT&T Stadium will be just like it was in Jones AT&T Stadium. Obviously, it'll be a lot bigger, a little bit different, but I think what you're going to see from Red Raider Nation is a fan base that has waited quite literally forever for this moment. I mean, this is a moment that you hoped would come right at the beginning of this year, but now that it's come to fruition, it does feel like a pinch me moment. I'll say that. I think it's just something that, you hoped, you expected, you saw, okay, this is possible, and now it's here. and it's just like this is really happening. And so it's so fun to see the players have the success, so fun to see Joey have the success, and everything really come to fruition. I think Saturday in Arlington is going to be without question one of the greatest days in Texas Tech sports history, probably top 3 for sure, because it will be a Big 12 championship for the Red Raiders, in my opinion. So it'll be a great day. Looking forward to it. And I think you're going to see BYU 2.0 from Lubbock weeks ago on Saturday, December 6th in Arlington.
Yeah, and we'll get into our pick'em and predictions of all the big games coming up later in the show. We'll also be here to break it down Sunday evening, 6 o'clock. Yeah, sorry, Conrad, Sunday, 6 p.m. We'll be reacting to the game and the college football playoff release. So make sure, again, to subscribe so you don't miss that episode. But let's get into it, Z. 29-7 a few weeks ago. BYU coming in 11-1. They've taken care of business since that loss in Lubbock. And this is a motivated team. I mean, they were motivated coming into Lubbock, but all of the talk around BYU, potentially losing your coach to Penn State and then retaining him, Texas Tech signing Joey to an extension as well. These teams are coming in riding a wave of momentum. They're both engaged. They're both energized, having signed their coaches to extensions. And this BYU team is deserving of a playoff spot and is getting overlooked. They're getting the shaft from the committee. So do you expect a different BYU Cougars to come into the AT&T on Saturday? And do you expect that to change the result on the field at all?
Yeah, I think if you were looking at this from a mentality standpoint, who's got the better mentality coming in, who's got more to prove, who's got more on the line, I think that's easily BYU. You know, they're currently outside of the playoff projection. People are sleeping on this team. They just re-signed their coach after they thought they were going to lose. The players are going to be so amped for that. And that's not to say that Tech's not going to be fired up, but if you put all those things together, I think that mental side or that kind of the outside noise factor favors BYU. There's just a lot of things. They want revenge on this team. They feel slighted by everybody. They re-signed their coach to a big deal. Their program's elevating after getting slighted last year. They missed out on the tiebreaker. So that stuff, I think, favors BYU. Unfortunately, it will be played on grass, and the outside noise will not play a factor really on that side. I think this is a good BYU team. I think BYU fans will point to LJ Martin not being fully healthy for the Lubbock game as one of the reasons they maybe didn't perform. And I think a fully healthy LJ will help them. In my mind, it was fluky that the game was not more out of hand than what it actually was. Not fluky in the sense that BYU should have kept it closer. I like BYU. I think they're a good team. This is not a West Virginia. This is not a UCF or an Oklahoma State preview. The thing that I was looking at is, man, pre-garbage time touchdown for West Virginia, they had 127 yards on 46 plays. That's 2.75 yards per play. You had 338 yards on 68 plays for almost 5 yards of play at that point. You were almost doubling them up in yards per play to that point. And that to me is not fluky. What was fluky is that the scoreboard was not 42-0. They're still a good team. I think they're going to be motivated, and they're going to be playing for something to prove. I just think that you're the much better team at this point in time.
Yeah, I think you meant BYU, not West Virginia when you said that.
Excuse me.
No, you're good. The excitement, the jitters of the Broadway Shuffle of what's coming up this weekend, it's hard to stay focused. But Clayton, we were on the field for that BYU game, and I was thinking about this before the show as well. Is it's hard to see what we watched and think about a way that BYU could really out physical you when you are clearly just the more dominant team. Like, you could just see it. Yes, they had 3 turnovers, but to Zyler's point, you kicked 5 field goals in that game. You got stopped at the 1-yard line to end the half, where you had 2 drops from Coy and Terrence Carter. I mean, it could have been uglier, and it was a complete domination from start to finish. So if you're BYU, what gives you hope coming into this game? Like, where are some holes that they could expose out of Texas Tech? I mean, I'm not seeing much, and I didn't see a whole lot in Lubbock either.
Agreed. I feel like if you're a BYU fan and you're looking for hope, it would have to be like their defense does some of the same that they did the first time we played in the red zone, but just limits, the yardage from the 20s to 20s, limits the red zone trips. And, maybe we make some mistakes, kill ourselves. But I don't see, like, on the BYU offense going against our defense, I don't see adjustments that they can just snap their fingers and make and, like, instantly have a bunch more success. I mean, they didn't even get into our territory until the second half. So, I mean, that to me just seems like the players are out class. Like that's, to me, that's not a scheme thing that you could adjust in game prep. I feel like we're just a bad matchup for them on defense, with them liking to run the ball. And I do understand that LJ Martin's health is like, one factor, but Baron Morton, that was probably the least healthy he looked all year as well in that game too. So you would think that he would look better. And yeah, I mean, we mentioned it a ton of times. I think 7 red zone trips that amounted to 2 touchdowns. Like, I guess if you're a BYU fan, you have to pray that happens again. But less than 7 red zone trips.
Yeah, and Conrad, I was going to bring up Barron. I mean, he was limping bad in that game, and you were struggling. He looked fairly good in terms of movement and mobility against West Virginia. And so if you're Texas Tech on the offensive side of the ball, you have to feel a lot better going into this game compared to the November 8th game about your ability to throw the ball around the yard and score some points this game and actually convert on some of those red zone trips into touchdowns.
Yeah, well, it helps when you played a scrimmage last week in Morgantown and, won the way you did and having him healthy and having everything look as smooth as it did, because, I mean, that was one of the smoothest offensive performances of the entire year, truly. And with Barron looking as good as he did, I think that was just a good tune-up for this game. And, we forget, I mean, not that, I don't know that it mattered that much. I mean, it was a beautiful day against BYU in Lubbock in November, but at the same time, playing in a dome should bode well for this offense, obviously, with what Barron and the receivers can do through the air. So I think that'll be interesting to see how they perform in this environment. But I think it'll be much better than what you saw against BYU in November, just because he'll be healthier, seen them once. The confidence is an all-time high. So I think it'll be really good for the offense on Saturday.
Yeah. And Brennan, one thing I want to make sure is, like, nobody's a bigger, outside of the BYU fan base, a defender of the BYU program than I am. I think they're just getting absolutely shafted by the committee right now. And this is a good team. Once again, this is not West Virginia. This is not UCF. This is the second best team I think you've played all year. I think if I was BYU, I think you take a lot from that touchdown drive that you had. And what I think about is they're just going to have to play high stakes offense. They're going to have to drop back and pass the ball more than they want to, and you're going to have to live with the results and hope you get high variance outcomes. You got to take shots down the field. You got to throw the ball a lot more. And you saw what happens. Like, sometimes you throw interceptions and sometimes you fumble it, but then sometimes you're able to actually move the ball effectively down the field. I think that's what I would be looking for BYU to do, is just a lot more high risk plays, high reward, but also, big downside. That's what I would be thinking of, unless they just feel really confident that LJ Martin's health is going to dramatically change the rushing attack. And then if you make stupid mistakes, you muff the punts, you throw the interceptions, you have the fumbles. That's where I also think they could have a chance if they get some short fields. But it on paper, there's really not a huge reason outside of some really wacky outcomes, which do happen. I mean, this stuff happens all the time in football. I just think on paper, you're the much better team. You've seen the matchup in person, and it was a pretty much full strength team on both sides. We didn't have our QB all the way healthy. They didn't have the running back all the way healthy. I don't see a on paper advantage that they're going to exploit. That doesn't mean they can't win, but I feel pretty confident in this game.
Well, and Z, that was my thought watching the game, was I don't see a way, unless fluky things happen, that BYU can just match up with you. Clayton, you mentioned it, just a bad matchup for BYU. It's no disrespect to them. I think that BYU is a great team, and I absolutely feel for them. I mean, I would say like 0.1% of me is like, okay, if BYU wins, I wouldn't be that upset, because it would kind of just give them a fair opportunity to get into the playoff and show the committee, like, hey, screw you guys. Like, you're leaving us out. We earned our way in, and now you have to give the Big 12 some love. But that's 0.1%. That's not 1%. That's like an ounce of me, would feel like, okay, great. Like, if you're going to lose to somebody, I almost would want it to be BYU. I wouldn't say that for Baylor or TCU or anyone else. But, like, this team is getting seriously overlooked nationally, but you're just better than them. And it just seeing it happen, I think it's great we get the rematch on a neutral field, because it'll kind of show even more, I think, for Texas Tech how good you really are. But I just have a hard time seeing a way that BYU is going to be able to move the ball. Bear Bachmeier is still a true freshman. He's had some good games throwing the football, but can he really throw 300 plus and 3 touchdowns on this defense? And beat you with his arm? I don't think so. And we saw the running game. LJ Martin, he's looking better. His shoulder is a little healthier, but it's not LJ Martin. You've got to block Lee Hunter and David Bailey and Romello Height and Anthony Holmes and company. So I'm just not convinced that BYU is going to be able to do enough on offense to beat you. You just can't beat yourself. That's really what this comes down to, I think, for Texas Tech. You can't turn the ball over. You can't muff a punt. You can't give them short field opportunities to go get quick points. You play your game, you run the ball well, and you just kind of move the ball. And heck, you score 29 points, you'll win the game again. So I don't know. It's going to be tough. I'm excited that the national media, though, and that so many teams, Clayton, will have their eye on you. Like Notre Dame, Alabama, Texas, Miami. Like a lot of teams are like, okay, maybe if BYU loses. So this is going to be a test where eyeballs will be on this game. National media and other fan bases are going to watch BYU and Texas Tech again at 11 a.m. Do you feel like that adds any other pressure? I mean, not for Texas Tech, but like the chance to prove like, hey, we're here. Like we're not just trying to win a Big 12 championship, guys. You're watching us. You better not want to face us in 3 to 4 weeks. You better not want to catch us in a quarterfinal or a semifinal game. I think you can prove that to a lot of teams this weekend.
For sure. Yeah, I think it does add some pressure, but I mean, BYU has definitely the more pressure on them being on the outside looking in, needing a win. But yeah, I do think that's a great point. Like you have Notre Dame fans rooting for us after they were like clipping Joey's press conference earlier this year. You got Miami fans rooting for Texas, even though they really have no shot. And I honestly think that this conference title game is maybe not as far as the game, but like just as far as the circumstances, it's definitely the most interesting because of the stakes. You know, like Indiana, Ohio State, the loser is still going to get a bye. And then in the SEC, like loser is still going to be in the playoff. And this one, like BYU needs to win or they're out. And if Tech loses, you drop probably from getting a bye to being on the road in the first round. So I think it's the most interesting from that aspect, which is cool to see Tech involved in a game like that.
Conrad, do you feel like Tech has more to lose in the sense of they moved up to number 4? Because I was thinking about this too. Like you would get the Cotton Bowl more likely than not if you win this game. So knowing that, do you feel like it would sting even more with the fact that if you win this game, you're probably playing there again in 3 weeks? And if you lose this game, there's an iffy chance. Like if it was like you're slated to play in the Orange Bowl, for example, and you lost, but then you lose and you get to go host a home game in Lubbock, you might not feel as icky about it. But the fact that you have a chance to play in the same stadium in 4 weeks, essentially a glorified home game for Texas Tech, do you feel like that adds any pressure? I'm trying to find holes where Texas Tech might come out a little like on edge or something. I'm trying to think of ways that would make us play nervous.
Yeah, Brennan, I don't really think it's worth my time or your time or the listeners' time this far into the episode to talk about circumstances that just aren't going to happen. You're not going to lose the game. It's just not like that's not going to happen. Like I think and I'm just so everybody knows. And if you're still listening this far in, subscribe if you haven't already. But just so everybody knows, I'm not going to answer the question because this is a game that is going to be dominated up front by Texas Tech. I mean, that's where the investment was with this team. And the thing is, with all these other schools and all these other eyeballs on this game and on your team, it's almost like a prove it moment. It's like, okay, nobody's watching us play West Virginia. Nobody's watching us play UCF. Nobody's watching these games. People watch BYU games, sure, but they didn't watch just your run of the mill Big 12 game this year. They just didn't. And so now, with the rematch, with all the eyes on this game, you're going to see how the Cotton Bowl, like they should want Texas Tech in their game, not only because of the fans, but also because of the product on the field. And so it would stink if you did lose. But again, like I said, that's just not going to happen because the mismatch is just too much on the offensive line and defensive line side of things. And so you'll see, I think, pretty much the same game in Lubbock, but you know, to BYU's credit, they are a good team and they are getting disrespected, but at the same time, it's just that they're not going to be able to do it.
Zyler, do you like the fact that it's another 11 a.m. kick? I mean, Utah was 11 a.m., 10 Utah
BYU?
time. Yeah, BYU was 11 a.m. I think one of Kent State, Pine Bluff, or I think it was Kent State was 11 a.m., I think, too. And so Tech's fared well in that window and you get another primetime game. I do kind of find it funny that your national games, West Virginia was 11 a.m. Like all of your national slotted games have all been in the morning. So Tech is used to playing at this time and playing well. So I just think it's interesting. Do you think that going into this weekend compared to Lubbock, you had game day there, obviously, but this is elevated. You're playing for a trophy this Saturday. What would that trophy mean to Texas Tech as a program just coming out of this game with a win?
Yeah, I mean, it would be huge. It's the knocks that have been thrown against your program for so many years. One, it was you've never even been to a conference title game, and now it'll be you don't even have a conference title. All those things that you could dispel with one result on Saturday. I think that would just elevate, especially in your own conference. There's a level of respect that I think you would earn that you haven't had really since Mike Leach. Nobody's really feared playing Texas Tech or thought, yeah, there's no way we're winning that game. And that's something that you established this year. I think, too, when you think about program reputation in this very pivotal moment of college athletics, being able to do this at this particular juncture is incredibly important for your university and for your athletic department. They've shown proof of concept that, yeah, you can build not just winners, but monster teams in Lubbock. This is not just a relic of the air raid system. This is a place where you can play defense. You can have a top 3 team in West Texas, and that's not a big deal. We can do those things here. I think the other thing that's really interesting is what it's going to force your conference to do. Once again, I don't want to discount the game and assume a result. If you come out here and hammer BYU, your conference foes are not just going to take this lying down. You've seen what Texas Tech has done, what it's forced BYU to do, upping their NIL, what Kansas has had to do to their program, what Kansas State is doing, forcing out probably the second best coach of all time to get a new coach in there, somebody that will do things a new way, what West Virginia is doing, the exact opposite of what Baylor is doing.
What is Baylor doing, Zyler?
If y'all saw the video of Dave Aranda sitting crisscross applesauce talking about his high school recruiting class, I truly, I don't even want to share it because it was so sad. Like, I respect Dave Aranda enough to say that he should never be sitting crisscross applesauce in front of the media breaking down film. Like, get the man a chair. Like, what are we doing here? And you see Dillingham, he's like, we need more. Like, we've got, and you have forced that on these programs. If everybody was just kind of competing, you didn't see this kind of stuff after Arizona State and Iowa State went to the Big 12 title. Mm-hmm. Texas Tech decides to be a really good team, and now everybody's like, we have to step up what we're doing. And so I think that message that you're sending is not only good for you, but also good for your conference. Let's elevate as a conference and have better football teams, get more respect. And I think that, to me, is the bigger and larger message that I think Tech's doing. And I know that's maybe a little bit too romantic, but
I love it.
You can see the results of that. And it's not just Tech, but you see what other conference teams are doing. They are not happy with you doing this.
Well, Zyler, we know you're a hopeless romantic. You're that guy here on this show, on the Broadway Shuffle. So it's music to my ears. Conrad, you made a face though. I don't know if it's about Baylor. I don't know if it's about the Big 12. I'm sure an epic Big 12 rant is about to ensue.
I mean, we can talk about Baylor on another day. I don't want to, taint this episode with speaking about a team that is really going to be irrelevant forever. So I'll just say this. I mean, I don't, and maybe I'm in the minority of Tech fans. It's like, I don't really care about the Big 12. Like I'm not bound to think, well, I need this. Like, if Tech goes 11-1 and 12-1 every year for the next, like, forever, we're going to be in the playoff every single year. If you lose a couple games, I get how it can be argued that it's better for your.
But think about BYU.
What'd you say?
They've lost, 3 games in the last 2 years, and they still can't get an at-large bid?
I mean, okay. I mean, it's not.
But continue your point. That was just the.
I think the conference loyalty is just at a place that is what it was never meant to be in college athletics. Like, you think about a place like Arkansas or Auburn that is just irrelevant and will always be. And the reason is because they don't invest. Texas Tech would be competing in the SEC with this level of NIL investment. They will compete. I mean, they already are. They're ranked above Bama. They're ranked above. They will be, if Georgia loses. I think what you see, I don't the Big 12 and this loyalty, this blind loyalty to this conference that really doesn't this team is not needing this conference to be good. This team would be a playoff team if they were in the SEC or the Big 10. And so my thought with the conference is like, yeah, I mean, if other schools will do things to make the conference better, that's fine. But if you keep doing what you're doing, you're not going to really have to worry about anyone else. And at some point, your school and your athletic department is going to say, yeah, we'd actually like the revenue sharing that the SEC or Big 10 provide, and we can get that because we're attractive enough, not only from a football perspective but a basketball perspective, that those conferences that actually do provide those for you will do that, and then you'll benefit from that. And so, yeah, you can go get that more with the SEC or the Big 10, but but you're looking out for yourself. You're not looking out like I just don't understand the looking out for the conference dynamic when you can just focus on yourself, be the best version of yourself that you can be. I just think I think it's another layer of college athletics that I personally don't care for, because I don't think it's really the way it was ever intended to be. I just want Texas Tech to do what's best for Texas Tech. And if that includes going to the SEC or Big 10 to get more money, to be able to invest more heavily in NIL that we already are, then I think that's a good thing to do. I just find it a hard time to think, well, man, I really want West Virginia to be good so that we can finally get some conference respect. It's like, I don't care about the conference respect. I care about Texas Tech's respect. And if you keep investing like this, keep winning like this, and dominating like this, you can play whatever conference you want in the country, and you're going to be a playoff team every year.
Yeah, I understand that point. I personally like when you play another 11-1 team and you need them to be good, and it just helps boost your resume. I think it's important for resume building right now in the current state. We're seeing that play out. Like that's huge. Like Texas Tech having a win against a 10-win Utah matters. Having a win against 11-win BYU matters. And I think if you cakewalk to 4-8, 4-7, 5-7, 6-6 opponents every week, you're going to get dinged for that. So, I mean, at some extent, you need a couple good teams. You need to beat some to be able to.
Yeah, but if your conference that you're playing in isn't willing to invest and is largely irrelevant in football in the national landscape, which the Big 12 has proven to be, other than BYU and Utah, I mean, why should I mean.
But I think my point would be, I want teams to be, I could give a crap if those other teams win. I want them to be good so that it helps us. If Kansas State didn't lose to Army and almost lose to North Dakota, like, how much more respect do we get for that win? I want our conference to be at a spot so that we benefit, where people don't like, I don't care if UCF is in the conference and they're terrible. That doesn't benefit us at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want Oklahoma State to be good so that when they come to Lubbock, game day is like, oh, maybe we should go to that game.
Yeah.
When there was legitimately one Big 12 game I thought was game day worthy this year, two. And I think they both involved you and the Utah schools.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I want more of those matchups in Lubbock, and I need other teams to be good so that we get that.
I don't think you're going to get buy-in to the level that you need it from these other schools for that even to be a possibility. And I think they've proven that.
BYU's buying. The Mormon Church is buying in. The CEO of Purple Cookies is buying in.
Other than BYU, who is willing to do this?
Z, I wanted to.
Oh, go ahead, please.
No. You go finish your thought.
I think there are teams, and once again, this comes into a logo thing. Like, Oklahoma State can get back to that spot, and they have enough national cachet where they would be respected if they were good. They have been the premier even when Texas was in the league, they were a much better team than Texas was, and they commanded more respect. That says more about what Texas was doing at that time than what Oklahoma State was doing, but they've spent so much time in the top 20. And I think them getting back to relevance would, one, give us a natural rival, and two, it's a team that's not going to be like if UCF all of a sudden started investing really heavily, I think people are going to be skeptical to believe that that's a legit team. Oklahoma State has some built-in respect from the last 20 years of their performance. That's a team I think needs to be good. I don't care about the two private schools, even though they would garner national respect, but I don't care if they wallow in mediocrity. That's just a personal thing, even though those are probably the other two schools that would be good for you from a branding and a matchup standpoint.
I guess my issue with the whole thing is the obsession that other Big 12 teams seem to have with each other when it's like, I just don't think that. Maybe I just don't like the narrative of the Big 12. We've got to do this or we've got to do that. It's like, man, like I just don't know that you ever will. Like I don't see it, and they haven't proven they will.
Clayton, did you have something before? I don't want to hog the mic.
No. I mean, I do think it's funny. This is like a little bit off of that subject, but like the narrative seems to be that like BYU winning would be good for the Big 12 in the long run because they would get 2 teams in. But I personally think that the Big 12 just needs one team to go on a deep run in the playoff to garner more respect for the rest of the conference. We have one playoff win as a conference, and it was TCU, and then they got absolutely murdered the next game. Like, I think you need, and maybe it is Tech and BYU, you need like a couple teams to like consistently be good. Maybe it's Arizona State too. Should give them credit to, I feel like, get respect for the rest of the conference. It doesn't need to be like all 16 teams.
No, totally agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, and I do think that seeing what Texas Tech and BYU have done, Z, I mean, with Sataki staying, like you're talking about a guy, Penn State. I know they're in shambles right now, but that's Penn State we're talking about. National semifinal a year ago, historic blue blood in college football. They wanted to get BYU's coach, and he stayed. I think that's good for the conference. I think it's great that Sataki stayed. Joey McGuire extends to 2032. So these are the 2 schools that I think if you're the Big 12 conference, you want these 2 schools to be very good. And it's not just football. We're seeing it in basketball, right? BYU went and got a ton of money for the NIL in basketball. Texas Tech, same with JT Toppin. And so I think that having these 2 schools as your forebearers for the conference is great because they're going to invest. They're going to give money. And BYU, to their credit, you mentioned, I mean, dude, you're what, 22-3 in the last 2 years? Like, that's insane no matter what conference you play in. And I think that's great. And so I have always been under the assumption that you want one great team, Clayton, you're right, but you want a good rival. And you want a matchup that matters in November. You want attention on your conference, regardless, Conrad, if it's a crappy conference or not. You want attention on you because it helps your brand. And I think that's helped Texas Tech this year. Texas Tech was not really on the map until they beat Utah by 24. And then people are like, whoa, that game mattered, you know? And so I think that having these 2 schools in the direction they're both headed on a commitment level from the Mormon Church, the oil money, it's like 2
oil tycoons and the Mormon
the
Church.
oil tycoons and the Mormons are coming together, and the CEO of Crumble. And, you know, it's just a fantastic thing for the conference, in my opinion. And I think this matchup is perfect for the Big 12.
What I think will be interesting to see is what the national reaction is, because the reality of it is that you have absolutely manhandled every team on your schedule this year, and except for Arizona State without your starting quarterback on the road. We could talk about that, but it's, you know, it is what it is. But I think the fact that you have manhandled every team on your schedule has gotten you national respect, obviously being ranked number 4 and with all the analytics, but also I think the narrative online too is, well, of course they're destroying every team on their schedule. They play in the Big 12. And whether that's right or wrong, that is the majority narrative. And there is some merit to it because the bad teams that we've seen in the Big 12 are not good teams that we played and beat by a lot. And, you know, it's just, those are the factors. And again, am I saying that, you know, we'd have to compare bottom teams in the Big 10 versus bottom teams in the SEC? It's just like, when you do that to teams, you're getting respect, but everybody's also like, well, that's just the Big 12.
Sure.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's been like that. Even when Texas and OU, it was like, well, it's Texas and OU, and then it's everybody else. Yeah, you never had respect when you won 8 games in the conference, and Texas, you know, and so
sometimes I didn't even respect our team when we won 8 games.
Yeah, same here, man. Well,
so let me ask you guys a question. Would you, if you had the opportunity to go to the SEC or the Big 10 and get that extra cash to be able to invest in not only football but basketball and the national perspective shift that comes with that, would you be in favor with that, with the understanding that would, from a dollar amount, benefit Texas Tech?
Anyone that says no to that would be insane.
Yeah, I would for sure say yes to the SEC.
Stability too.
Okay.
Like, we both know that both of those conferences are trying to eject themselves from the NCAA. They want to just play each other and do this little Big Ten SEC thing. They are working toward that. You can see it in all this stuff that they're doing. You are positioning yourself to try to get included in that. My thing is, what if you're not? And like, what if you're not included? And that's where I want the Big 12 to be good enough to where you can get respect if you are left in this conference. Because I don't think it's a sure thing that you're invited to the next Super League or whatever the next iteration of college athletics looks like. I don't think that's a sure thing. And I definitely wouldn't think it's a sure thing if I'm, Kansas State or Iowa State or Baylor or, we're trying to position ourselves and we're doing everything that we can. We do not have an invite. We are not guaranteed anything. And that's where that's why we said it at the beginning of this year. It is so critical that you show up this year and be nationally respectable. And to Brennan's point, and even Clayton's point, going on a deep run this year would do so much generational. It would generate you so much reputational goodwill. And that's where winning this game is so important for that. You set yourself up in the best possible circumstance to do that. And that's why I don't think our team will overlook that. Maybe the players don't understand that, but the administrators sure as heck do. The coaches sure as heck do. It's just a massive, massive moment for your university. And I don't want to downplay that just because we don't necessarily think it's going to be a close game.
Zyler, you know how you ensure you get invited to that next iteration of college athletics? You win the national championship.
Oh, my goodness. You do something like that, they will nuke NIL into a stratosphere that you have never. We're going back to no paying players.
Like there's no way we could have allowed Texas Tech to pull this off, is what the powers that be would be saying. Yeah.
Greg Sankey would have something to say about that.
I think something that it just dawned on me this week. I've tried to consume as much content as possible. Just anything Texas Tech on YouTube or Spotify I'm listening to, from national to local. It's just like this moment, you feel it. You feel an opportunity rising. And I think back to 2019, I was talking to a good friend, Shuffler of the Sparsh, and he was telling me it feels like 2019 when you murdered Kansas at home and you thought, this team is very special. Like this team could go do something that national teams are going to see happen in March and go, oh, like I didn't know this team was this good, And I think I get that sense here. Like you might earn your first Big 12 championship, you might not. But if I'm Oregon, if I'm Ole Miss, if I am A&M or OU, your potential second round matchups or quarterfinal matchups, man, I don't want to play Texas Tech. Like these guys are ready. And to Joey's credit and to this team's credit, even the Arizona State game, you have just earned like the respect of your conference. And I think you'll earn it of the national media and the national and teams that come to play you, because you have crushed everyone you've played. And I'm so proud of this team because they have just stepped up each game and said, yeah, we won by 30 last week, but we're going to win by 40 this week. We're coming into West Virginia the same way we came into BYU. And that's why I think this week will be no different for Texas Tech, because these guys are bought in completely. I don't think the moment's too big for them. I really think they're going to come out and say, we've been prepared for this since April. Let's go do it. We've got 60 minutes. Let's knock it out. It's our time. It's time to win the Big 12 championship. And I think Texas Tech gets that done. But you just don't know. But I think they get it done. So
do you think this is probably the biggest crowd any of those players have ever played in front of, but probably any of those coaches have ever coached in, right?
Yeah, over 80,000, sold out AT&T Stadium, biggest crowd in college football, or sorry, in Big 12 conference championship history. I mean, it's going to be
so it's going to be 84,000 plus.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, that's just such a cool moment. And Brennan, I love that you called back the basketball team. I remember the Gonzaga game when you just never think that, like, yeah, we could go to a Final Four. You're just like, no, that won't happen. We'll find a way to lose. Yeah, we'll find a way to lose. And then it does happen, and you're just kind of like, you're like the dog that caught the car. You're like, well, now what do I do?
Yeah.
Right. I think that moment is so fun as a sports fan, and there have not been many legitimate breakthroughs. That 2019 team is the one that I really think, and then this moment to me too. And that's really fun that we got to experience that, especially after. And this was another moment I wanted to call out. The Cody Campbell, Kirby Hocutt rift after the Wells hiring, that getting resolved is maybe one of the biggest like diplomatic things that has ever happened for your university.
Great
and that
point.
Relationship not being like permanently. Like, shout out to Kirby for managing all that and getting all this done and being an athletic director that allows us to be aggressive in this space. If you listen to Gene Taylor today talk about Kansas State, and he's just lamenting the space that college football's in, and whether you like it or not, you are in the space. You don't get to change it while you're in there. Do something with it. And if I heard my AD talk about that and just say how terrible it is and how we need to get people to sign on, it's like, dude, you are not going to succeed in this environment. I'm glad and I'm so thankful for the administration that we have and how they're pushing us forward. So
That's
anyway,
a great point,
I talked way too much. Please forgive me.
It's a podcast. You're supposed to be talking, Z. Well, look, this is a sad moment for me because I love picking games and I love getting y'all's thoughts on games. And this is the last time we might be doing this, gentlemen, for 4 weeks, hopefully, and we won't have many games to pick after this. And so it's time for Pick'em here on the Broadway Shuffle, and we're obviously going to pick the biggest games. Let's start with Texas Tech, though. We've talked about it. We've previewed it. It's everything we wanted. Does Texas Tech get it done and deliver their first ever Big 12 championship Saturday in Arlington? Clayton, I'll go to you first.
Yes, absolutely. Honestly, I think the game is pretty similar to the first time. I'm taking Tech 35-17. I do think BYU figures something out on offense. They hit some big plays, something like that to score. But I also think Tech is more efficient in the red zone. So, yeah, 35-17 Tech is my pick.
All right. Conrad, does BYU score over 10 points in your prediction?
No, they do not. They scored 10 points. It'll be 42-10 Texas Tech. It will be it'll be the same thing you saw in Lubbock, except those field goals will be touchdowns. It will be an outclassing of Texas Tech versus BYU that puts the whole country on notice again, because to beat one good team once in a season is impressive. The way Texas Tech did in Lubbock, to beat them again in Arlington in a even better fashion is the sign of a great team. And that's what you're going to see on Saturday against the BYU Cougars. Kudos to them. They're a good team. I'm not taking anything away from them, but they will be outclassed in the Big 12 championship, because this is our moment. This is Texas Tech's moment. This is what everything has been leading to, and you're going to see the Red Raiders absolutely put on a show on Saturday in AT&T Stadium.
Z, will you be celebrating at 3:00 on Saturday at Texas Live?
Man, I'm going to be emotional. It's going to be either really good or really bad. That's the one guarantee I will make. I'll take us 34-16. I do think BYU has a little. I agree with Clayton. They're going to find some more success. They're going to take some more risks. I think they also continue to stop you in the red zone at some point. You kick 2 field goals, you score 4 touchdowns, they get a touchdown, and then they kick 2 field goals as well. That's where I like it. I like it comfortably in control by the start of the fourth quarter.
Not so fast, my friends. Not so fast. No, I'm kidding. I do think that BYU is going to throw the kitchen sink at you early, and I could expect something like a Parker Kingston double reverse pass or something,
Sure.
kind of like kinky that you're like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. And all of a sudden, they might be up 7-0 early. But I think over the course of 4 quarters, Texas Tech is going to wear this team down. And I really like Texas Tech in this one. I'm going to go 38-20 Red Raiders. I think BYU will keep it just mentally. Like it's, we've seen this in football. Think of just the huge David and Goliath where you just hang in because you're just going to will yourself. You're going to die on the battlefield. And I think BYU, knowing their season could be over after this for all intents and purposes, I think we'll see that for a quarter and a half. And I think Tech will wear them down over time. So I've got Texas Tech 38-20. And gentlemen, us being there, it'll be a moment where tears will be shed. I mean, this will be a moment where I think a lot of Red Raiders, maybe not Clayton. Clayton's pretty stoic, but I think I'll be pretty emotional. I think Conrad will definitely be emotional. And Z, you mentioned it. We were crying. Z, you were tearing up last BYU game on the field for kickoff. I can't imagine what Zyler will be like this game, but it's going to be, regardless, man. Enjoy the moment in Arlington. 11 a.m. kick. Just thinking about getting to see this happen. Can't wait. So, all right, well, let's pick the other games quickly because some of these games do impact Texas Tech. We'll start Georgia, Alabama in the SEC. If Alabama wins, they probably move up to the 4 line. If you win, you might get up to 3. There's a scenario at play there where you could move up a couple spots still out of the 4 if Georgia were to fall back. So does Alabama and Kalen DeBoer knock off Georgia for the second time this year, and Kalen DeBoer going 3-0 against Kirby? Or is Georgia going to get revenge in Atlanta? Clayton, who you got?
I got Georgia in this one. I feel like, Kirby's bound to beat Bama at some point. So I'll take it to happen this time. I think Georgia is the better team. Obviously, Bama has had their number, but I think they get it done this time.
Okay. Conrad?
Yeah, I'm going to take Georgia. Alabama has not. They've kind of fallen off towards the back end of the year. Ty does not look like the player he was earlier in the year. And so I think Georgia's going to win. I just don't think Georgia and Alabama are too close in my mind for you to have Alabama beat them twice in 1 year. So I'm going to go Georgia.
Okay. Z?
Random thing I heard today. Who do you think's older, Joey McGuire or Kirby Smart?
Joey McGuire.
Yeah. Did y'all know Kirby's not even in his 50s yet?
Uh-huh. Yeah, he's a young buck, man.
He's a young chicken.
Yeah.
Or spring chicken, not a young chicken.
Yep.
Yeah,
but chicken.
Yeah, he's a young lad. Greg Sankey will have his fingerprints all over this game. Alabama, give it to me. The numbers don't say Bama. Nothing about the analytics say Bama. But Greg Sankey will be involved. Give me the tie.
I agree. I think Bama, it's like the magic thing. Sometimes you just got that mental. It's like Kansas City over the Bills in the playoffs. Sometimes you just got it over them for whatever reason, even though you feel like they should win at times. So I think Bama wins. We'll see what happens. So, all right, Virginia Duke. This one, everyone's talking about the doomsday scenario in the ACC. Virginia beat this team by like 3 touchdowns 2 weeks ago. I just don't see a scenario where Duke wins this game, but I could be wrong. I know it's only a 2.5 line. I think Virginia puts a lot of people at rest and kind of removes the chaos from the situation. So give me the Cavaliers here in the ACC championship, and they will make the playoff if they win. So I like Virginia over the Blue Devils. Conrad?
Doesn't Chandler Morris play for Virginia?
He does.
Okay, that's what I thought. So give me Chandler Morris and the Virginia Cavaliers.
Hey, okay, I wanted to present you a theory. Imagine we played this year's North Texas team last year. Like after you almost lost to ACU, get killed by Washington State, and then North Texas comes in and like beats the brakes off of you. Like, does this season ever happen? Like, what happens in that scenerio?
We don't live in that reality, Zyler.
Yeah, Joey might have gotten canned.
Nothing I want to think about.
How things have to line up. And maybe you would have still handled that North Texas team, but I don't think that would have been the case. Yeah, give me Virginia. I think Chandler Morris gets it done. And like Brennan said, man, they killed this team a couple weeks ago. I brought up the Duke scenario and I was like, guys, watch out for this game. And then they were getting beat like 30-3, and it was terrible. But yeah, give me Virginia.
Clay?
I'll take Virginia as well, but I want to point out, like, can we take a moment and actually appreciate how funny it is that there's a 7-5 team playing for a Power 4 championship?
Yes.
That is hilarious. I never thought I would see that. But yeah, I'll take Virginia.
Yeah, it is a scenario that I think the committee would like to avoid, but I don't think we'll get there. So, all right, Ohio State, Indiana, a lot of talk on this game on if Indiana and or Ohio State were to get blown out, would they drop to the 3 line, maybe the 4 line? Could Texas Tech sneak up to 2 if that happens? Indiana is getting disrespected here a lot. I think people are just assuming that Indiana is really not as great as the 12-0 record indicates, and Ohio State is as great as the 12-0 record indicates, but I don't know. We'll see. The game is in Indianapolis, so somewhat of a home turf there for the Hoosiers. So I'm going to call the upset here, and I'm going to say Curt Cignetti wins a Big Ten championship game. I can see Ryan Day and Ohio State kind of taking it, not take the break off, but knowing they're fine. This team's a championship team, and maybe Indiana wants it more. So I'm going to go Indiana this weekend. Anyone else joining the Curt Cignetti train with me?
Yeah, I'll be there with you. I think this game means more to Indiana. I think they have the horses in the trenches to compete with Ohio State. Now, Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate both being back and healthy makes me nervous. But yeah, I like the Hoosiers here. I think it's their first time there. They're going to want it really, really badly. Should be a fun game.
Conrad?
The Heisman Trophy winner plays for Ohio State. There's no shot that Indiana wins. No, I'm kidding. It will be a close game. It'll be a good game, but Julian Sayin will. He's. I mean, I don't know if I'm assuming you guys watched the Michigan game. Ohio State's just too good. They're going to win this game.
Yeah, Clay, you agree?
Yeah, I'm on Ohio State. Although I do agree with y'all, like Indiana for sure has something to prove after last year whenever they finally went up against a good team and they got blown out. They're definitely going to be ready to play. I think Ohio State has to come from behind in the second half to win, but I'll take
right.
Ohio State in a close one.
I like it. All right, we got 2-2 there. Loser of the bet's got to buy an ice cream cone or something. Well, me and Z against Clayton and Conrad. All right, last game we're picking, then we'll get out of here. Group of 5, man. UNT, Tulane. Eric Morris, former Red Raider. Drew Mestamaker slinging it all around the yard for the Mean Green. Are they heading to the playoff to potentially play in a game where they could face you if they end up winning? Do we like Eric Morris to take the North Texas Mean Green to the playoff? Or does Tulane and John Summerall, Florida's new head coach, get the job done?
Yeah, give me North Texas. The offense is going to be too much for Tulane.
I like it.
Same here. I'll take UNT. Their offense is so good. I think it's also a weird dynamic with both coaches leaving, but I don't know. I feel like for some reason I get the vibe that Eric Morris is just like more focused on this game than Summerall. So I'll take UNT.
Conrad?
Yeah, I root for all former Red Raiders who are in the coaching profession except for Sonny Dykes. So I will continue that trend here and root for Eric Morris.
I love it, man. I'm picking the Mean Green as well, too. Great story coming out of Denton, Texas. And Eric Morris, former Red Raider, he was also a part of your biggest season ever in 2008, too. So a legend in his own right for Texas Tech. So we'll see what happens with James Madison, some of these other couple bubble teams. But we will be back on Sunday night to break it all down, react to where Texas Tech will fall in the bracket, what the rankings ended up being, where the committee fell, what happens to Miami, what happens to Notre Dame, and what happens to the Red Raiders. Will they be receiving a bye in the playoff if they're able to knock off the BYU Cougars this Saturday morning? If you're going to be at the game, come say hi to us and see us. We'll be at Texas Live a little bit before the matchup. We'd love to see all the shufflers. And as always, if this is your first time and you enjoyed what you heard, this show's for you, man. So like this video, subscribe on YouTube, or follow on Spotify and Apple so you never miss any of our content. And we cannot wait. Everyone have a great weekend. Enjoy the Big 12 Championship. Soak this moment in and have a blast in Arlington or wherever you are watching the game. And we will see you guys on Sunday here on the Broadway Shuffle.
He makes the catch. He's going all the way. 20,